So during the Resident Evil series, we've seen this franchise give us so much endgame content after our initial playthrough, with some more notable ones included the Mercenaries mode where we control a set group of characters as we traverse through the game environment, trying to make it to our destination alive while being on a timer. But in the classic Resident Evil 2, Capcom and the devs behind the game decided to add one more character that would be a fan favorite for years to come, a character spawned from some of the greatest minds in the survival horror genre, the ultimate survivor of the Resident Evil series. This character that I'm talking about is none other than the Tofu Survivor.
Alpha, do you read?
So in this video, we'll do a quick parody analysis of this character and why it was created in the first place. We'll even discuss how it made its way from the classic Resident Evil 2 up until the newer RE2 remake. Anyways, before we do get started with the video, I just want to say my name is DeVuH, and I do cover a lot of Resident Evil and The Last of Us content on my channel. So if you guys enjoy those type of videos, then please feel free to like and subscribe for more videos like this in the future, and also possibly adding me on Instagram and on Twitter, where you guys can message me there at any time. Oh, also on a quick side note, again, this analysis video is just for fun and shouldn't be taken completely seriously due to the subject matter, so I still hope you guys still enjoy the video. Alright, so starting off, let's go ahead and discuss why the Tofu Survivor was even implemented in the first place in the classic RE2, with its origin stems from the developer's need to assess the game's collision system, which this means that during the game creation, the devs have to have our characters be able to roam at a certain portion of an area, keeping the players within the boundaries of the game environment. Also, this was crucial for the earlier Resident Evil titles since we were using fixed camera angles and a pre-rendered background setting, which this means that the player character model not only has to adhere to the environmental physics of the game, but also visually as well, where the point of view and character model has to be lined up to where it makes sense for the depth perception when we play, which in layman's terms mean that when we move our character in a pre-rendered background, we expect the character model to become smaller with distance, bigger when up close, and correctly aligned when the fixed camera angle is at a corner or curved. So this is where Tofu comes into play, where the basic character model was supposed to be used to make sure the players were to remain within the game's boundaries and adhere to all the in-game physics as well, because if not, we would get a weird out-of-bounds type of traversal with the possibility of the game crashing on us as well. Also, there were some examples shown with this in the Resident Evil 1.5 game model, where we saw either Leon or Elza Walker going out of bounds as well, which I thought was a cool aspect, where we get to see some of the in-game environmental mechanics in development. So Tofu in this aspect helps with the development of the game by being the test dummy that the devs can use to make sure that the final product doesn't let the character go out of bounds. Also, the creation of his model wasn't initially based off of Tofu, but instead was just a rectangular rendering model with enough game space that could simulate it colliding with the pre-rendered environments. So it just happens to show that the base model for this dummy happens to resemble a Tofu. So the devs implemented him as a parody to Hunks' Fourth Survivor gameplay, where similar to the Mercenaries mode that I mentioned earlier in the video, where we have this Tofu character have it make his way from point A to all the way to point B, where the only things in our arsenal is a knife and a couple of herbs. Also, mind you, the other characters in a similar game mode had a plethora of weapons and aids that they can use, but for Tofu's case, they amped up the game mode and pretty much set it on hard. But the good thing when playing as Tofu, we can follow the exact same path as Hunks' gameplay, giving us a good overall idea on how to traverse the environment, and we can also anticipate certain enemies as well.
What is that?
Did he just come through the roof?
Also, another good thing that pertains to Tofu is our ability to distinguish his health status based on his physical appearance. With the classic Resident Evil 2, we could see him start to change from his regular off-white color to orange or red, depending on the amount of damage we've taken. Though in the newer RE2 Remake's version, instead of showing the different colors, we instead see the visible bite marks from all the damage that he's taken during the game mode, which I thought was a great small detail since regular Tofu tends to crumble when mishandled. And since we're talking about his appearance, here in RE2 Remake, they added the star's hat for him, possibly indicating he was an unofficial member, or maybe he could have just stolen it from Jill Valentine, where we saw her wear the exact same thing in Resident Evil 1. Also, in this remake's version, they decided to remove the glove aesthetic, which now just makes it look like there's a floating knife around his character model. Also, I just want to quickly point out the soundtrack that plays for both versions of the Tofu Survivor, because in the original, we still had the same music playing as if we're still playing as Hunk, but in RE2 Remake, we get to hear this instead.
Man, I thought you were all wiped out. I've been trying to...
あー、しんど。
Guess there's no keeping down the Grim Reaper, huh?
久しぶりやで。
I don't know about you guys, but I found this hilarious, mixing the soundtrack while playing as a tofu. Anyways, in the end, the parody of having a tofu survivor was an interesting idea, and I do love how they implemented him in Resident Evil 2 Remake. Oh, last but not least, I just want to mention that if we do complete the tofu survivor mission in the classic Resident Evil 2, we get to see this neat little picture of both Tofu and Hunk, where we see the Reaper himself enjoying a nice bowl of tofu as he flies away from the Raccoon City disaster. Anyways, what do you guys think of Tofu overall, and should we see him make another appearance in a potential Resident Evil 3 remake or in the next sequel in the Resident Evil series? Please let me know and why on the comment section down below. Also, I have covered quite a bit of lore and characters that surround Resident Evil 3 and the Raccoon City incident, so if you guys are interested in that, then please feel free to check those videos out on my channel. Anyways, thank you guys so much, and as always, you guys have a great rest of your day, and this is DeVuH, and I'll see you guys in the next video.